Hello, and welcome to Ms. Pam Reed's Christian Content, where we are continuing in Abscond by GG Wagner. And in our last video, they got Gwen, Mark, and Lyzee got their Christmas tree, and they watched It's a Wonderful Life, and they had snacks and just were kind of cozy around the TV and the fireplace. And then she went upstairs and finished a quilt that she's making out of Rory's t-shirts as their Christmas gift. And that's where we stopped. She fell asleep under the quilt. So this is entitled A Real Family. The smell of pancakes and bacon wafted, I'm never sure, up the stairs, luring Lyzee from the warm cocoon of covers. She'd pondered the notion of pregnancy cravings, but couldn't seem to get a handle on hers. What she wanted seemingly changed from week to week. Today, it was pancakes. Hurrying to get dressed, she dashed down the steps, holding tight to the rail, the weight of her backpack threatening to throw her off balance. "Good morning, Lyzee girl. Did you sleep well?" Gwen asked. Lyzee settled on the stool closest to the stove, watching as Gwen piled the plates. She slipped from her seat and scooted it out a bit more, already feeling a little crowded. Her eyes grew wide, gazing at the perfect golden brown pancakes and the little volcano of butter oozing down the side. When she reached for the warm plate, her hand brushed Gwen's, and their eyes met. Without saying a word, Lyzee felt loved. That's important. This is the family she had always longed for. Pancakes on a normal day, and her eyes filled with tears. Gwen smiled. "What time should I pick you up from school today?" "My ultrasound appointment is at 1 o'clock at the Thomas Imaging Center." Lyzee waved her empty fork for emphasis, which happens to be across the street from Peggy's office. Gwen's eyebrows knitted together. "Which building is her office in?" "Health and Social Services, the all-glass building," Lyzee said. She stabbed a bite with her fork. "She has time this afternoon to look over my adoption plan. I just want to make sure it's right." The pancakes seemed to grow in her mouth, and Lyzee nearly choked as her throat tightened to fight back cheers. Gwen touched her back reassuringly, and it helped. She didn't know why her emotions went haywire with every thought about the baby. The decision had been made, so now she could stop torturing herself. "This is the right thing," she repeated in her subconscious. "Babies need stability and love. This baby deserved a real family. Right now, she needed to concentrate on getting through the next several months, and then they could both move on with their lives." Lyzee rinsed the syrup from her plate and placed it in the dishwasher. She had been so lost in thought, time had slipped up on her. The bus would be here soon, and she still needed to find her Spanish notebook. Lyzee paused, watching Mark and Glenn from around the corner. She saw Gwen hand him his lunchbox, and then they kissed. A smile inched its way onto Lyzee's face, and without thinking, her fingers brushed the slight baby bump with a delicate touch. She rushed out the door, yelling over her shoulder, "Bye!" Mr. Tom's warm smile greeted Lyzee as she climbed onto the bus. A warmth filled her as she made her way to an empty seat, and she thought of Mrs. Holdren, the driver from her old house. Lyzee couldn't remember a time when she had even looked at her when she got on or off the bus, but she had never given it much thought before now. There was no comparison to the two neighborhoods. The obvious commonality, both were in Samuelsgate. Lyzee started toward her first block class, the tension in her shoulders fleeing when she reached the downstairs hallway. The mural of Mrs. Chase, the art teacher, covered the door, and it stared down on her as she entered. The room already abuzz with students and music, Lyzee put her bag down and began to gather supplies. She was the first to the recycled clay bucket, taking several attempts to try the lid off and nearly hit the boy sitting behind her in the head. The reclaimed clay smelled a lot like dirty garlic bread, and Lyzee was grateful that her sensitivity to smells had subsided. Digging in, she surveyed the gray, pliable balls, judging the size she needed to make the sides for her stoneware slab vases. What are you making for your set? The girl sharing her table asked. It's going to be Beauty and the Beast. I loved that movie, the new one, Lyzee answered. She remembered like it was yesterday, sitting next to Rory and singing along in the crowded theater as the credits were rolling, the audience having broken out into an impromptu sing-along. Lizzie's heart smiled at the memory, her hands busy throwing the clay, the exertion helping to keep her emotions from spilling from her eyes. She checked the time. Gwen would be picking her up soon, and she had hoped to get at least the sides laid out before having to start cleanup. Lyzee hadn't noticed Mrs. Chase standing close by until she spoke. This is looking good, she said. We want to make sure there are no problems with assembling, so make sure you rotate after each rolling. As big as your slab is, it may be easiest to get another canvas to lay on the exposed side and make a clay sandwich. Then you can simply flip it over and take off the top canvas and get that side rolled out as well. Make sense? Lyzee smiled and nodded. This class always went by too fast, she thought. The intercom buzzed, sending Mrs. Chase rushing to turn down the background music. The students' conversation ceased as a silence fell over the room. We need Lyzee James to the office for checkout, please, the voice announced. The lady behind the counter smiled brightly as Lyzee approached, and as if she had read her mind, she chirped unprompted. Mrs. Snell is at lunch. Hold on to this slip to show to your teachers tomorrow and sign here. You're good to go. In the passenger seat, Lyzee pored over her computer. She hoped reading through the questions wouldn't make her car sick. Focused on the screen, she chewed her bottom lip, glancing in Gwen's direction. This questionnaire was only a formality required by social services, and Peggy knew she was going through a private adoption agency. This is torture, she thought. It had seemed easy enough until she had to put her feelings into actual words. She scrolled back, grimacing at her answers. We're here, Gwen said. Relief flooded Lyzee. Now she could close the screen and be done with it. Well, at least until after the ultrasound. When she walked through the glass sliding doors and they swished closed behind her, a blanket of silence settled all around. The unremarkable corridor with walls adorning sparse paintings as memorable as beige paint. That's a good description. And a scent of antiseptic that stalked her all the way to the suite of doors marked Imaging Center. She reached for the knob, her hand freezing in nervous trepidation. With wide eyes, she faced Gwen. Are you sure this isn't going to hurt? She's still a teenager, right? Positive, Gwen smiled, patting her hand reassuringly. That little blob on the screen was a baby. Her baby. Lyzee almost forgot to breathe as she watched it move. She couldn't feel anything happening on the inside. The technician rolled the probe while she studied the screen, pressing and maneuvering around Lizzie's belly. The pressure caused Lyzee to flinch and her muscles contracted. She fought the sensation, not expecting the embarrassment of an autonomous tickle reaction. Autonomous. Hearing a sudden galloping throb coming from the machine, she froze. Staring wide-eyed, unable to blink, she watched the little fluttering spot that was keeping perfect time with the pulsating echo. Is that her heartbeat? Lyzee asked. The technician's voice was calm while she explained, Yes, indeed, it was. Lyzee watched in awe as limbs, toes, hands, fingers, torso, head were all being pointed out on the screen. She wasn't sure what else to say. Hopefully, Gwen was paying attention. Mesmerized beyond belief, Lyzee stared at the screen. This is real. Interesting. Okay, so I'm curious to see if she changes her mind, but we won't know until we keep reading. All right, you guys. I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.